I'm John, and tonight I want answers about Syria. There's no stopping us now because we're live.
I'm A.J. Minnick.
I'm John A. Vink.
I'm Keith Stattenfield.
I'm Loretta Beavers. I'm Jennifer Sim.
Audio's not on
And
here.
those stories tonight on John Wants Answers.
Here's the title. Okay.
Give John answers. John wants answers. Give John answers now.
When did you win the last award?
The last award I won?
Yeah. Was it more than 7 years ago?
Yes.
You got to take it off.
Take it off.
That's how long.
It's award-winning.
No, 7 years.
7 years.
It was award-winning. Now it's just
It still
two
has
dumbasses.
won an award. It's always been two dumbasses. Even when we won, we were two dumbasses.
yeah, but we were two dumbasses that had recently won an award, and by
No.
two I mean one of us.
To be clear, you were not part of that episode
No, I was not.
that we won an award for.
No.
Because you are
I'm a no-time winner.
no-time winner. You are anti-award winning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the opposite of. I'm like, if you just want to have a chill TV show, not anything you worry about, not like, oh, this is going to win an award and the director's going to leave for a better job. No, you just come on my TV show, and it's always the same, and it never wins awards.
You don't have a show anymore, though.
No, I stopped.
You stopped.
I wasn't winning any awards.
You weren't even applying for awards, were you?
Well, it turns out applying for awards didn't change whether I won them or not. So I kept that $100.
Right.
Yeah.
See, I won. I was nominated for many awards.
One.
And then I won 2 awards.
Yes.
And then the next year I thought, I'm going to do it again.
Yeah.
And I had even better shows. And then what they had is some university or college was doing shows as part of the class.
Yeah.
So like it wasn't really amateur. It was like students, a whole classroom of students making shows. So then they won all the awards.
Like almost definitionally amateurs.
But they won all the awards.
Like they're
'Cause
not
they
being
had-
paid.
But the professor of the class was.
Did the professor win an award?
I don't know if he individually won an award.
Yeah.
But-
yeah. I mean, you're paid, or you were.
I was never paid. Not to do
No,
the show.
you had a real job that paid you a real salary.
That's been a long time.
You could afford to hire the best people to work on your show. I mean, you didn't, but you could have afforded it if you'd wanted.
Yes.
Maybe that's why you're not winning awards.
I don't hire good enough people. Like I have you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You settle.
We had Uzman on last week.
Yeah. You
Mail-
forgot to hit start, you know.
Oh, no. This is going down right there.
Okay.
What was I going to say? After the music comes up, what do I usually say? Check your calendar. If
Yeah.
it says December 11th, 2024,
Yeah.
then we're live.
We are.
We actually are live on Facebook.
I heard.
Yes.
Live-ish. Like we're like a minute behind.
KMVT
probably.
does not have the technology to go
No, they
live
can't. No,
on their
that's crazy.
channel anymore.
That's crazy.
Yeah, they lost it. They had it, they lost it.
Yeah. Maybe the button broke. Wasn't there a button we always used to push? The go live button?
No, they had
What if that button
pre-programmed
broke?
the time to go live at,
Oh.
and then when the time hit,
It just
input
went
would
live.
turn into
Just
the studio.
whatever idiocy we were in the
Whatever
middle
we
of.
were doing, yeah. That's when it mattered, like when we started. Like we had to start at exactly the right time because it was
Yeah,
live.
now it doesn't matter. Nothing matters.
Now
Nothing
Jennifer
matters
just
anymore.
counts down. She goes 5, 4, 3, 2, and then
She
we're live.
points, and then, yeah,
Anytime. See, we were like 9:13. We went live today.
it's crazy.
Weird time.
Yeah.
We broke the button.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
I'm
We
being
broke
told
the
I
button.
broke the
I bet we
button.
broke the button.
Has Donald Trump been indicted on anything new?
No.
No.
Are you going to introduce me?
Oh, here's our guest tonight, Keith Stattenfield. He's his most excellent media engineer guy.
Median engineer. Yeah. Like I'm not the good
Median.
engineer.
Yeah, right,
I'm
right.
not a bad engineer. I'm like the middle.
But you're most excellent.
I'm like, if you've got something not critical to work on, I might be your guy.
You might be the guy.
Yeah.
But it does say that you're most excellent. But you're
But I'm
and
most
also
excellent
median.
at being average.
Oh, okay, I understand.
Yeah.
I've worked with you. I can vouch for that.
Yeah. Like I know where to put the braces.
Usually.
Well, almost always. That one I can figure out.
Okay.
Years of experience.
Have you been programming in this new language called Swift?
No.
I can't even tell where the braces go in that language.
No, it's crazy. And there's exclamation points and question mark. The language looks angry and confused all the time.
Like most languages, I can just look at and get an idea what's going on.
Yeah, yeah. and
Swift,
you're
I
like,
looked at one day. I was like, this makes no sense.
Maybe that's a loop. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Did you read Scott Canastra's book, Objective-C 2.0?
25 years ago?
I
20
read
years
it.
ago?
I read it like last month because I
Oh.
had to relearn how to do a loop because I've forgotten how to do loops.
Like, that didn't change.
It did between Objective-C 1 and Objective-C 2. So if you iterate an array, it's a little different.
Okay.
There's a new feature, Objective-C 2.
Yeah, yeah, the in.
And I think we're getting into the weeds here.
Yeah.
I think on
You
this
didn't use
program.
blocks? Did you use blocks? Everyone uses blocks now.
I use blocks.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. That was new.
I add some threading to my app.
Ooh, how exciting.
Yes.
What does it do?
You take a picture
Yeah?
and it'll turn it into black and white, like literally like all black or all white. And then you click on the image, it'll add colors into it.
How exciting.
Yeah. Not that exciting.
You're going to be a millionaire.
No. Well,
Maybe-
I am a millionaire already. But
Sure,
not
yeah.
from that though.
I agree. Oh, look, I forgot to put my phone in whatever mode.
Are people texting you saying you're boring?
No.
Get the show on the road? Okay, well, we should have get the show on the road then. Our first topic, Syria. Did you handle the call? The text?
It was a text.
Oh.
I'll text in a break.
Anyone I know?
My brother.
Oh, your brother. I know your brother.
Yeah, he's wondering what I'm doing.
You're on TV. So Syria, it is a country in the Middle East.
Yes.
It's behind us.
Well, a map of Syria is behind us.
Yep.
Yeah, the map is not the territory.
And they had a revolution. Would you call it a revolution?
Coup or
coup.
They overthrew the current government.
Yeah,
and they're in the
sad
process of setting up a new government.
people. Okay. Now, is this a good thing?
Probably.
So the old government, the Assad government, was bad,
Yes. Dictator.
and so they overthrew him.
Yes.
But the new people, aren't they like Al Qaeda?
It's complicated.
Okay.
Some of them are ISIS or ISIL, we
Ooh.
would call them these days.
That's even worse than Al Qaeda.
It's just more modern.
I mean, they're on the internet. They have a Twitter account.
Yeah, I don't know if there's much of Al Qaeda left, but a lot of Al Qaeda's goals became the Islamic State's goals. Not all
Okay.
of them.
Are they
But
the ones
yes,
who
some of
took
them
over?
are the Islamic State. Some of them are Kurds. Some of them are rebels that are more closely aligned with the Turkish government than with ISIL. A lot of them are people that the Syrian dictator has been oppressing for the last 50-ish years.
Right. Are these the same people that are running Afghanistan?
No, different people.
Who's in Afghanistan? The
The Taliban.
Taliban. And they're different.
Yes.
Are they better or worse? I guess it's all relative.
I think the Taliban is worse,
Okay.
but ISIL was pretty bad, so
I thought ISIL was more extreme in their methods.
maybe in their violence.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
The Taliban's pretty bad too. You know, they've just told women they're not allowed to learn to read or go to school after.
Do you think the new government in Syria will be like that or not? Like, are you free to be Christian?
So far, they have said they are going to aim to be a democratic, accommodating government that is still mostly composed of Arabs and Muslims. And therefore, they will probably hew closer to other Arab/Islamic governments than, say, Canada. But time will tell. I mean, the kind of de facto rebel leader who has taken over has said a lot of things that sound promising.
The Taliban
time
also
will
said
tell.
promising things when they first took
I'm
over.
not sure the Taliban really ever said promising things, but
I thought they said promising things and then pretty immediately went against them. Yeah. You know that Syria actually was a democracy. They have elections every 7 years.
yeah.
And Assad's very popular.
Very
won
popular.
with like 97% of the
Yeah,
votes.
yeah.
So people loved him.
Let's not go that far.
So why would they want to
People
overthrow
voted
him?
for him.
So they're going
You don't have to love who you vote for.
Yeah. They're going to have
I mean, the last few years, the people actually voting in the elections were a very small portion of the country. They really only held elections in the area where the Assad regime was still strong, and they controlled who was allowed to vote, such
That's how
that
you do it.
the people that were going to walk in and vote and have their ballots counted were almost all members of the Ba'athist Party or the very closely allied parties.
And wasn't there only one guy on the ballot you could vote for?
Generally, yes.
So how he got like 97% of the vote.
Yeah.
So 3% were like write-in votes. Did they even
Or
have that?
spoiled ballots, or who knows whether
Yeah.
he actually got 97% or they just come up with a number.
Right.
I mean, I don't think Jimmy Carter, even when he was going to oversee elections, would have said, this is an election where it's worth looking at the vote count at the end to know what people thought.
Okay. How long has the Assad family been in power in Syria?
Like 50 years,
Like
like the early
1970?
60s.
Were they elected or did they do their own coup?
I mean, Syria was, for a while, was a French, not quite colony, but French territory.
Okay.
In the early 1900s, World War II kind of fucked everything up. After World War II, they tried to have one or two democratically elected governments. Those fell pretty quickly. But I mean, the Baathists were one of the bigger parties in Syria back in the 40s and 50s. And at that point in time, they were elected to, you know, as one of the parties that held power in parliament. But at some point, the Assad family and the military had a coup, and they kind of took over the civilian side of the government, and then the Assad family kind of eliminated everyone that wasn't in their family from what remained of the military and the coup, and then they were ruling as this is our country. You know, Assad's, Bashir Assad's father, like, took power in the very early 70s or late 60s, and he died in early 2000 something.
Right.
And
there's only been
Assad
two
has
Assads in
served
power.
as, you know, the guy that just got deposed was not expected to be the ruler of Syria.
He was an eye doctor, wasn't he?
Yeah, he went to the West and got a medical degree. I mean, you know, it seems like he's a smart guy. He got a medical degree. He was working as an ophthalmologist. But his older brother, who, you know, had been the one that was going to take over, was, I think, killed in a car accident or something. And so they brought Bashir back, and they got him a role in the army, and
Guess
they
what? You're gonna be the new
somehow
president.
promoted him pretty quickly through army ranks. And at some point, when his father passed away, he became the next.
I heard after his father died that to change the Constitution, because he was 40 years old and he was only 34.
Yeah.
So he changed it to exactly 34 years old.
Yeah,
he had to be.
yeah, he could do that kind of thing.
And it makes me wonder why they even care about the Constitution. Because clearly they weren't being constitutional anymore. They were being dictators, right?
Yeah, but people like rules. And, I mean, to
If
run
you
a
can just change the
country,
rules
you have to have
on
a
a whim.
court. And it's possible the people at the top don't actually listen, but the mid-level bureaucrats want to have some belief that they at least will be able to remain in power if the rules are followed and they follow the rules.
So how was living in Syria bad until now?
Well, I mean, there's been a civil war for the last 15 or 20 years.
Right.
I mean, Arab Spring happened in 2010 or 2011. And, you know, a lot of countries found they suddenly had people that were not happy with how their governments were run all around the Mediterranean, and Syria was one of those. And, you know, at Arab springtime, there apparently was a very real concern that the rebels would kick the government out. But the government cracked down and threw a lot of people in prison, and killed a lot of people. I mean, they think 500,000 people have died in the last decade in the Civil War, which is a lot of people for a country the size of Syria.
What's the population of Syria?
I want to say it's 10 to 12 million, but I honestly don't know.
All right, like a third the size of California, population.
Well, I mean, size-wise, it's a big country. It's the same size. It's almost the same size as Iraq. It's bigger than Egypt.
Okay.
It's close to Egypt if it's not bigger. I mean, you know, Lebanon's not a big country.
Right.
Jordan's not a huge country. Syria is a big country. You know, it touches Israel, touches Iraq, it touches Turkey.
Syria was occupying Lebanon for a while too, right?
Yes.
Okay. Are they going to have elections now, or the new people in power are going to keep
They've
it?
said they're going to have elections, but it does
They
take
said
a
so.
while. I mean, you know, they said they're going to have elections, but I don't think they're going to have elections in the next 2 weeks.
Are they going to like throw away the Constitution and write a new one?
Probably.
Yeah.
That's what I do.
Now they had a prime minister of Syria as well, right?
Yes. Well, they had a parliament and people were elected.
So this Assad guy, he was a president,
Yes.
and they also had a prime minister. Now I haven't heard of countries having both. I've usually heard of one or the other. So as a prime minister, did he have any power? And was he elected?
I think in addition to President, Assad was leader of the armed forces,
Right.
if not on paper, in practice. And when the entire country is a military dictatorship, you know, you can have a parliament that in theory makes rules, but the guy at the top is the one who decides what rules you get to make and what rules actually get enforced even if they get made.
So was the prime minister like a figurehead?
I suspect the prime minister had some significant amount of power, but not as much power as Assad. And if push came to shove, the prime minister would lose. But you can't, you know, unless you can't have a country where one person is in charge of everything, because a lot of people want to have power, and they are willing to have some lesser amount of power. But to have that amount of power and use that power to support the person that arranges for them to continue to have power.
Was Syria a country I could have visited, or they were closed to outsiders?
I don't know if the U.S. government has Syria on the do not travel to list, but it's not I mean, given that there's been a civil war and bombings in a lot of the
I agree, it's dangerous.
cities,
and
I
not-
wouldn't suggest you go
Right.
there.
What if
But I don't think it's North Korea where, you
Right.
know, the U.S. Embassy just says, do not under any circumstances go there.
Well, I've heard Americans have gone to North Korea. Like nothing legally stops them.
Well, no,
But it's
legally you're not allowed to spend American money in North Korea.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Same with Cuba, right?
correct.
And so Syria is not on the list, right?
I
Or we
don't know if Syria, I don't think Syria is as high on whatever list that is as North Korea, but I don't think it was a great place to go.
Right.
But again, it depended on where in the country you were going, which is there were parts that have been largely under rebel control for the last 10 or 15 years.
And that's better, right? Rebel control.
Well, it would depend on who they thought you were and who they thought you were with.
Do Syrians
the
hate?
Kurds in northeastern, The Kurds have been kind of friendly towards Americans because we, for a long time, supported them when they were trying to, set up a separate protected area to live within Iraq. And I could believe you might have had more confidence and acceptance there than if you landed,
Damascus?
in Damascus.
That's an old name from the Bible, right?
Correct.
So,
Like, that's where the Bible happened, the Middle East.
right. Is Syria mentioned by name in the Bible, or is that like was created later?
Oh, I think Assyria is mentioned in the Bible more than once, and I think it's, I mean, the borders of Syria were carved out in the early 20th century. I don't know how closely it follows.
So were they victims of colonization?
Like the whole Middle East, I mean, Iraq and Iran only exist because the British wanted to draw lines.
Oh, okay.
And I could believe a lot of that happened with Syria and Jordan.
All right, well, that's all we have for Syria.
Okay.
Our next topic, Doge. This got delayed from last month.
Yeah, well.
So there's this new department of government efficiency. Now we're using quotes because it's not official, right? And it's just like this Elon Musk took it upon himself to rent a room.
And Vivek. Don't forget Vivek.
Vivek came along with him.
Ramaswamy.
Okay. So those two guys are just going to go through.
I'm assuming that, Elon had some ketamine, and he was talking to Trump.
Right.
And Vivek was there, and they were like, we're going to make government really efficient by firing 90% of them.
Okay.
And getting rid of 90% of the money the government spends. And we'll set up a department to figure that out. But it's not a department.
So, like, Congress would have to be involved in making a department, right?
I mean, department's a term of art. It's not in the Constitution. The people don't require Senate approval. They currently don't have the authority to spend any government money because they have nothing, they're not a government department. They're friends of Donald Trump who are getting together and talking to people.
Because Congress decides how to spend money.
Congress in general allocates money.
Right.
Sometimes Congress allocates money and delegates the decision of how to spend it to the executive branch. The courts can rule that this money must be spent in this way. Sometimes the courts can rule that that does not exactly conform with what Congress or the executive thought. But two guys who are both billionaires, don't get to decide how the government spends money just because they thought it was a good idea.
So I understand they have no money, and
They have a lot of money.
Well,
they have no government money.
Yeah. And so Elon was saying, we need volunteers with a high IQ to work 80 hours a week for no pay.
Yeah.
Has he gotten any offers?
I have no idea. I'm sure he's gotten a lot of offers.
Who would volunteer if you're a high IQ? Remember,
bootlickers,
high IQ people will be doing
ass
this.
kissers, people that are already rich that hate the government.
And it's not like you need a high IQ because it's all basically policy decisions, right? Because you just can't say fire this, like because I don't want this.
I don't want to agree that making policy decisions doesn't require smarts. I think carefully and cleverly drafting policy, in fact, requires a lot of smarts.
But deciding
there's
what to
no indication that a couple guys sitting around saying we could get rid of X and Y and Z and is going to actually lead to anything other than, embarrassing and doxing a bunch of government employees. And
one of their targets seems to be the Department of Education.
Yeah, not just theirs, but yeah.
What do they do? Like, currently schools are run by the state, I guess, right? Funded and run. So what does the National Department of Education do?
Yes, although schools are also run by cities and counties and school boards. In general, most direct education funding is most directly controlled by localities, not the federal government.
So what is the federal?
But the Department of Education enforces Title IX and a bunch of other laws that Congress has passed that control that control education in various ways. Almost all special education funding actually comes from the federal government because special education funding can be very expensive, and if you have a small school district, they may not be able to afford special education teachers and the things that are required, and they have spread that risk across the country as a whole instead of saying, when you have some small 200 student school district that suddenly gets a special ed child in kindergarten and needs to come up with an extra $1 million a year to remodel facilities so that they can use them and to bring in teachers and build education plans and have have education aides. That is handled by the Department of Education.
Okay.
Some of the policy stuff for, like I said, Title IX.
What's Title IX?
Title IX is the equality in funding for boys and girls, primarily in sports, but in some other things as well. All of that is enforced by, and a lot of it is funded by the Department of Education.
Okay. So generally, they don't seem to be doing a lot. Like they don't have standardized tests and that kind of thing, do they?
I think most standardized
education.
tests are states, but I'm sure the federal government has weighed in more than once on the need for teacher testing and standardized
Would they
tests.
try to dictate curriculum?
My observation is the government tries to dictate everything, and the question is what they get away with.
Or does the federal government try and dictate curriculum?
I'm sure Congress has passed plenty of laws that have tried to dictate curriculum. But yeah, they're digging around trying to come up with embarrassing stuff with the expectation that they can get rid of 70% of government
Yep.
and fire 80% of the people that work for government because they're all terrible, bad people.
I've also heard they want to get rid of the FBI, which would allow me to finally commit federal crimes.
No, it wouldn't.
No?
There are other federal, the FBI was invented in the 50s.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Well, could I commit federal crimes before that?
No.
Oh, then who arrests me for federal crimes?
There are lots of federal employees that are able to arrest you. Park rangers can arrest you.
Oh, really?
Secret Service can arrest you.
Oh.
Various agents, the IRS has police force that can arrest you. I suppose the Capitol Police could arrest you if you're in the if you're in the federal capital.
It seems like they're very specialized, all these people. Like a park ranger isn't going to come to my house and say, you're flying a drone too high over your house,
Okay, but an FAA agent might.
Okay. What else do they want to get rid of?
They want to get rid of veterans benefits. They want to get rid of the Veterans Administration. They want to get rid of...
I thought no one was a better friend to veterans than Donald Trump. That's why I had heard him say.
Wow.
And now he's saying he wants to get rid of all the...
Well, only the waste.
Only the waste. How do they figure out what the waste is?
Oh, well, if you're spending money, it's waste. Look, there's credits.
Hey, that means we've got the show's running out.
Yeah.
Do we have anything more to talk about?
No. Merry Christmas,
What's
everybody.
a tech bro?
Tech bro. It's kind of like a guy in his 20s or 30s that works in tech and is kind of bro-y.
Was I a tech bro when I was in my 20s?
No.
No?
You had the brain thing, which I think kept you... I don't think you were ever a tech bro.
Oh. Well, that's it.
Man, your phone buzzed.
That means I'm out of time.